and welcome back to Rue's Life. And here I am in this absolutely divine vintage caravan. The caravan's name is Mabel. It was about a 30-40 minute drive from where I live, and I can't even tell you how amazing this is. I've come to have a little break away, so I've got 3 days, 2 nights. I've already met the one of the owners, and she's absolutely lovely, Sam, so welcoming, made sure I've got everything that I need, and then left me to my own devices because she was aware, because obviously I'd explained that I've come for some solitude and some time out. So let me show you around, and then I'm going to get the kettle on and have a cup of tea. So you may be able to hear in the background there's ducks quacking, there's some lambs shouting on the hills, the birds are singing, but apart from the sounds of the animals, it's just so tranquil here. So you can see it's a beautiful little caravan, and I'll just pan around for you. We're just nestled at the bottom of this hill. It's on a delightful farm. I've already met some chickens and some ducks. See my little car park down there, and it's just stunning. I've got a rope swing here, a beautiful bench underneath a tree. I've been told that there's a likelihood I will see some bats. Isn't it just beautiful? So let's go inside and I'll show you around. So up the little steps and through this delightful little split stable door with these gorgeous pretty tiles into little Mabel. And to the left here we've got a lovely little dining area. And I've brought along with me books, lots of mindful activities. I've brought my art supplies so I can do some painting. I have brought some wool and a crochet hook, and I'm going to attempt to learn to crochet, something I've never done before. I've got some pebbles and some pens to do some pebble painting. I've got my little radio in case I want to listen to something on the radio. I've got my diary. I don't really need my diary. I've got this brilliant magazine, which I may have talked about before. It's the Simple Things magazine, and I've saved the July edition especially for this trip. I've printed out some local walks, so I've got those to do. There is a place I may be able to go and have a swim in the River Dee. I've got this fabulous activity book. This is Ruby Wax, a mindfulness guide for survival, and it's actually like an activities book, or as she calls it, a workbook. I'm going to work my way through that. I've got some reading books, and as I say, there's this lovely little seating area. I've sort of cluttered at one side with my things because there's only me here, but I'll keep this area free for when I want to eat my meals. And then if I just carefully take you round, this is my bed. Isn't it just beautiful? I just am in love. And there's all these gorgeous tapestries and lovely quaint little pictures and vintage bits and pieces. I've had a cup of tea from this gorgeous vintage mug from Queen Elizabeth's Silver Jubilee in 1977, which I remember, showing my age, but I do remember, and I have a mug very similar to that at home. And then you don't really want me to show you in the toilet, so there's a little porta potty in this little door here, and actually I will show you in here because again it's so beautifully done. There's a little window, some little pictures. There's no running water per se in here. But I've been provided with lots and lots of drinking water. As I say, there's a little porta potty in here, and it'll be a case of, boiling the kettle on the stove here if I want to have a wash, but that suits me just fine. And then there's a little heater down here if I need it, but I doubt very much I'm going to need it. It's absolutely boiling hot, but beautiful. I've got the windows open for some cool air. And then there's a little wardrobe space here. So I'm sure you'll agree this is the most perfect space for a little breakaway, for some time out and some solitude. Life has been particularly difficult this year for us, and I know those of you that follow me regularly will have seen in my ponderings from the polytunnel, I have talked a little bit about some of the things that have happened, not just this year, if I'm honest, in the months leading up to the end of last year as well. But for me, I've recognised in myself that I need some time out, that these things are starting to affect me, not just mentally, but physically. So it's time to press pause. So I'm not going to go mad with the vlogging, because a whole part of being here is simply to stop and take some time out. But I couldn't not share this amazing space with you. So I've unpacked and settled in and just chilled for a little while. I've just eaten the most delicious, enormous, chunky chicken salad, which I drizzled with some lime and a tiny bit of salt sprinkled over it. It was absolutely delicious. And I'm just about to boil the kettle so that I can wash my dishes and make myself a cup of tea. So that's the dishes all washed up. I'm just going to leave them on the draining board. It's so warm, I think they'll soon be dry in no time, and then I can put them away. And while the dishes are drying, I'm going to drink my luscious mug of tea, which is a chai latte. I've got a cold drink here as well because it is quite hot, and I'm being mindful to stay hydrated. And while I was having my lunch, I actually started reading the first section of this book. So I think I'm going to start reading a little bit more, and I've got my pencil case at the ready for when I get to the sections where I have to start actually completing tasks. So I'm just going to sit here with this spectacular panoramic view from every window in this beautiful, just delightful little vintage caravan, and drink my tea, read my book, and just live in the moment for a while. So I'm just sitting outside in this glorious sunshine, and you can see the lovely swing behind me, and behind you are some gorgeous lambs with their mums, and you'll hear them every now and then get up and have a good shout. But what I've decided to come out here and do is I've got these acrylic painting pens and some pebbles, and I've seen so many people doing this rock painting, pebble painting, and it looks like a really mindful activity. So it's something that I thought I would give a go. So today I'm just going to have a little play and use some patterns and some colours and whatever I feel like, just to experiment, see how the pens work on the stone, and just see how it turns out. I have also bought some spray to set them with. It's like a varnish. But what I thought I could do with larger pebbles, so next time I'm at the beach I'll probably collect some of the larger ones, and I thought it'd be a really good way to make some permanent markers for the vegetable plot. And that way, rather than using the lolly stick ones that eventually I end up putting in the muck heap, or the plastic ones, we shouldn't really be using too much plastic these days. I do try and reuse them, but I thought these would be a great way to make some permanent markers for the vegetables that I grow on a regular basis. So the other thing that I'm experimenting with, if you will, is it's struck me that when I'm at work, it's a very noisy atmosphere. The phones are ringing, there's patients either barking or, we're talking to each other all the time. It's a very hustle bustle hive of activity. And when I'm at home, I have a radio on. When I'm driving, I have a radio on. Our radio is on in our house, in our home, 24 hours a day. And I find myself saying, oh yeah, I leave the radio on for the dogs. But something struck me today while I've been spending some time just sitting and being, that I'm not very good at just having still and silence, because my brain will go into overdrive. It's this overthinking. So I decided to experiment. I have brought my radio with me and I have been listening to it, but I'm going to try and wean myself off having noise all the time and just being comfortable to sit with my own thoughts or to still those thoughts. And that's where, of course, the mindfulness comes in. Even when I'm gardening, I have a tendency to put the radio on. And actually, of late, even when I go out for a walk, I tend to have my earphones with a podcast. So I have realised that, there's one of the lambs, that I'm not very good at just switching off completely. And that's something I want to try and do over these 3 days, is learn to be comfortable to sit with silence. So you'll have seen there, I just made a great big bloop with the yellow. So it's just a case of trial and error, trying these pens out. I've never used them before. So I've started a second pebble, and the first pebble I've wiped it, and I'm wondering if I can take this one home and just use a light bit of sandpaper, and then I can start again. It's actually a really good process because I'm such a perfectionist and I don't like making mistakes. And historically, if I make a mistake with something, that's it. That's rubbish. I'm not doing it. But because I've brought these, I'm determined to, find a way of making it work. It's actually, I've got all day. I've got no commitments, so it's actually a really good thing. So I've discovered that you need to leave quite a lot of time for them to dry. So it's not going to be a quick process, which is something which will be really good for me. So I think it'll be a case of doing a colour, letting it dry, doing some more colour, letting it dry, but also having some card or something that I can just dab and just get the pens going. so that I'm not doing these blob drips. I'm also wondering if it's because I'm out in the sun. So I'm just going to sit here and carry on doing this experimenting and see what I can come up with. So here are my little creations. Let me just zoom in for you. And they are far from perfect, but I've had such great fun doing them. So let me hold some up to the camera so you can see them. So I started with this little kind of mandala-y design, and then I've progressed, and what I've actually done is I've made a little heart, and I thought I might leave that somewhere on the decking as a gift to say thank you to Mabel the caravan. And you can see I've done a couple that just, you know, are rubbish. And it's been a great process and I've really enjoyed it. So I'm going to hang around here for a while in the sunshine on this amazing swing, which takes me right back to my childhood. And then I thought I'd have a bit of a walk, and then I might come back and read. So I've absolutely no idea what time it is. I think it's somewhere between 8 and 9 o'clock in the evening. And I'm feeling really relaxed. I've had another walk along the lanes. I don't know if I'd mentioned I'd already been for one walk earlier. I've sat in the sun and read. I've done some painting. I don't know if you can see that. I've sat opposite the caravan and there's a few wobbly lines there. I have been experimenting with watercolours, and you will have seen that if you follow me in some previous videos, but more animals and flowers. So structures, that's something new to me, but I'm really enjoying it, so I'm going to leave that. There's a few lines I need to fade out. Yeah, but I've really enjoyed the process, and even if it comes to nothing, it was a lovely peaceful hour. What else can I tell you? Oh, I had a lovely cheese and biscuit platter with a glass of Chardonnay for my tea, and I'm just going to sit here for a while and soak in the last of the evening sun. So it's somewhere in the region of between 9 and 10 at night, and I have had just a wonderful day. So relaxing. It's only day one, still got 2 days to go. I'm really looking forward to my first night hunkered down in this gorgeous little caravan. So I've started layering up because obviously the temperatures will drop at night, and I've closed up the windows just to keep the bugs out, really. I've got my book. There's some amazing lights in here, if I can remember how to work them, so that there's some up on the ceiling and you literally just move your hand near them and they come on, and there's one in the little toilet area, and then there's some of these little battery kind of click on click off. I don't think you can see those, so I'm not worried about not having lights. There's a big torch as well, and I've got a hat with a headlight in it, so I'd bought that with me as well. So I've got my book, And if I actually pull the curtains back, there's still quite a lot of light if I want to read. And I'd also downloaded a few episodes and films and bits and bobs onto the tablet, so I could always watch something. So I think I'm going to hunker down for the night now. I've been visited by a cat, a beautiful black and white cat, and a lamb. So I rescued a lamb earlier he was stuck in a fence, and I think he's got back into that fence and then somehow wriggled his way underneath, and he's actually ended up in the garden area here. So he's been meandering around the caravan shouting his little head off, so I'm hoping he's going to find his way back into the field. He's old enough to, but he's grazing, he doesn't really need to be drinking now. But there are still quite big lambs with their mums in the field just behind me, and I think that's where he's come from. So I'm going to hunker down for the night, and I will see you in the morning.